Our next presenters come from Talbot County. We're excited to invite Sheriff Gamble up to talk about the Project Purple presentation. I know Clay has a few words.
I do have a few words since I'm from Talbot County, and I fear that the sheriff who I conned to come up here this morning is going to tear me up because I made him wait so long today. Anyway, so Joe Gamble is a retired state trooper who grew up and has done an excellent job. He's passionate about people. He's passionate about kids. He was a state trooper. He ran for. He cares about the children in Talbot County. I think a lot of the kids in the county call him Coach Joe. And so he's done an excellent vision for a prevention program, and I was proud to have him come up and give a presentation. He and I are partners in Talbot County, so thank you. Be kind to me.
He just would be kind. So yesterday, fourth call was supposed to be off all this week, and Clay's like, "Hey, can you come up and do this thing tomorrow? I'm one of your partners, right, at Talbot County." He only lives a couple miles from me. A couple of weeks ago, I was going to be off. Well, something else fell through with one of the people that was going to present. I said, "Sure, Clay. I'll back from vacation. Duck hunt. That's what we do on the Eastern Shore. We go duck hunting."
Sheriff, let me switch you out, Mike.
Thank you.
Falling out.
So I canceled my duck hunt for this morning to come up here with Clay. And wouldn't you think that Clay, being your partner in your own county, would put you first? Or second? Or before lunch? You know, the room's since cleared out, so I guess he's embarrassed to have me. So anyway, I know I'm cutting into this 9 minutes and 50 seconds I have left. So what we did in Talbot County is about a year and a half ago, I gave a talk in front of 400 people. And we're a small county. We're 38,000 people. We're the most beautiful county in Maryland by far. Don't come visit us because we don't want you there. Just keep going straight through to Ocean City and have your fun in that mayhem of a beach place. And don't visit our 600 miles of shoreline because we really don't want you there. So I'm giving a talk in this beautiful county about 18 months ago. And it was at a fundraiser, and the lady who was raising funds for a scholarship asked me to give a little drug talk. She said 5-7 minutes. I'm like, no, these people don't want to hear that. Anyway, long story short, this is what I did. I said, raise your hand if you talk to your kids or grandkids about drinking and driving. Guess what happened? Every hand in the room went up. 400 hands went up. So put them down. Raise your hand if you talk to your kids about texting and driving. Every hand goes up. Put them down. Raise your hand if you talk to your kids about seatbelts. What happened? Every hand went up. Raise your hand, next question, raise your hand if you talk to your kids about prescription painkillers. 8 people's hands went up. The people in this room, since you're in this discipline, you think you've gotten your message to your communities. You have not. Less than 10% of parents and grandparents understand that we don't have a heroin problem, we have a pill problem, right? Heroin, for my kids in Talbot County, I don't know about yours because I can't speak to yours, your kids in Talbot County, your kids in your county, but right before I became sheriff, I ran the state police homicide unit for forever. I worked in every county in the state, I policed in every county in the state, and I investigated murder in every county, and including Baltimore City in the state. And what I think we don't understand is the path to addiction. You do because you're a professional and you're in this and you have letters after your name. The more letters you have after your name, the more boring you become in life, right? And the more you think you understand the problem. Well, I think we do understand the problems as professionals. I was never smart enough to have letters after my name. They've always put them before my name, like TFC or DFC, and you know. But anyway. Well, I think what I discovered was that parents understand there's a heroin epidemic, but they don't understand there's a pill epidemic. That my kids in Talbot County, all the kids I've talked to, and I've talked to over 100 of them, they all started the same way, early drinking, marijuana use that became daily. Somebody introduced them to prescription opiates, whether through illegal or mostly illegal, late high school, early college, military, or workforce. Right? That first year or two afterwards. And I'm talking about heroin addicts, kids that I coached. I coached 12 years to high school kids that I coached. So we came up with a plan to try to reach our community and get that message out proper disposal, proper storage, and all that stuff. So we modeled it after Chris Herron. We brought Chris Herron we wanted to bring Chris Herron, who's a former NBA basketball star. He has Project Purple, that's his gig. But what we did was Talbot Goes Purple. In September of this year, that's why this is kind of disorganized up here, because my daughter was working on it last night after Clay's late night phone call. We came up with this Talbot Goes Purple. September 1st, we kicked off. We planned for it for about 8 months. And during that planning, we contacted our local newspaper. We said, we want a front page article every month, every day of the month of September. They gave it to us. We contacted our local utility company, said, we want to turn our whole town purple with lights. They gave it to us. We contacted every town, every church. We have five towns, not including Tillman Island, but Tillman went purple too. Every town went purple. Churches went purple. But more importantly, what we did is we spoke 122 times in the month of September. Sometimes we were speaking 5 times a day on Sundays for churches, church groups. We went to every sports team. We provided every high school sports team, every middle school sports team funding to go purple. And then we brought an addicted person in recovery to that team who went to that school, whether it was a football player that played football at Easton High or a field hockey player that played field hockey, who were recovering heroin addicts. And we brought the the parents out of the stands before the games with the kids on the field and had former addicts, heroin addicts, explain their path to addiction. And my favorite story is Ashley. Ashley's been clean for 6 years. We brought all the field hockey parents. She was a NCAA 3-time national champion in field hockey. She was an All-American, first-team All-American field hockey player. She told all these little girls on the field hockey team that, looked at the parents, said, I was the perfect student. I had straight A's through high school and college, had a full scholarship. And then she talked about being introduced to prescription pain pills because nobody told her 10 years ago that these things were dangerous. Nobody told her that they were synthetic heroin, basically. And she became addicted. And she was the perfect child. And she told the parents, I was the child that you wanted. The child we all wanted. 4.0, full scholarship to college, All-American, 4.0 in college, blah, blah, blah. So we brought that to every team in our county, every sport, every group. And then what we did was, I think was unique, is that I've been invited to these things where they say, oh, the sheriff's coming to talk about addiction and talk about whatever. And nobody shows up. I know I'm not the best looking dude in the world. I know my hair days are long gone. But like 6 people show up. So what we did was I said, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not wasting my time going to things or inventing things to bring our message. What, 5? We're going to go to where the people are. We're going to go to the practices. Parents go to practices of their kids, whether it's play practice or football practice or soccer practice. We're going to engage them while they're standing there watching, helicoptering over little Johnny. And we believe that we educated between our front page news articles every day. Interestingly, the newspaper made money on the deal, right? Because we did a special edition, Labor Day, the whole paper. We wrote 27 articles. The whole paper, the whole newspaper was from prevention all the way through recovery. The mental health, co-occurring stuff, all that stuff that you all know so much about that I don't. They were way into it. And you can see some of the pictures from that, but we think that we know that we spoke to 7,000 people in our county, that we physically spoke to 7,000 people in our county. We think with the free radio ads, the free newspaper stuff, that we effectively reached half of our county with this message. The greatest part was that, look, even a rockfish, see the purple band on it? Even the rockfish. Interesting story about the rockfish. This is the middle school. We educated all our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders at our middle school. Then these kids came up with these ideas about these silly rocks that I didn't know anything about until I found one. We came up with all these tough guys. These are Eastern Shore kind of guys, or middle school stuff. So we really engaged the whole community, and it took off. By day 3, we were overwhelmed with speaking requests. Where you couldn't get 10 people to come to a prevention meeting, now we had, I'm still giving purple talks because we got so backed up. September filled up on the first day. October filled up by the first week of September. And now I'm still doing 3 Sundays a month, talking to different groups. So we think that we're getting our message out there. You can see some of the messaging stuff. We hope people are. In fact, I know we are. Just gave a talk last week. It was a group of about 40 young people. And I said, does anybody know anything about the Good Samaritan law? And 30 of the 40 raised their hands. And I said, where did you learn that? And they said, oh, through Talbot Goes Purple. So I really think it's important that we understand that we haven't reached parents and grandparents. We haven't reached them with the message of the path to addiction. We haven't reached them with the pills and locking them up and safe storage. And we think we have because we've been hearing this stuff for months. But I'm telling you, if you go to a group of people outside of your little professional organizations and you ask them, they don't know. They don't have a clue. They really are, there's a disconnect. So that was the whole purpose of that. This year, we've got other counties that want to go purple with us next September. I forgot to talk about the Purple Clubs. So we started Purple Clubs in our high schools today. All the kids in our Purple Clubs are being Narcan trained at the high school level. We're not giving them prescriptions, but so our Purple Clubs are doing door contests and all kind of cool stuff to promote sobriety, promote good decision making. We have about 100, we have 2 public high schools and a private high school. We have about 150 kids engaged right now in our Purple Clubs. So we're trying to change the tide of school so it can be cool to be sober. So that's kind of what it's all about. Feel free to give me 1 minute. Feel free to contact me. We're writing a little template up because so many people are, let me tell you a story about that. Can you go back to that 2 slides? Can you back that up twice? So this was another selling point for me since I got 30 seconds left. One more forward. There it is right there. So I'm talking to a kid I coached. His mother calls me, graduates from college, great family, great kid. And the mother calls me in a panic one day, and I'm working, and she says, I think I found some drugs in my son's drawer. I said, I'll be right there. I go down there and look at it. It's the beauty of a small community. You know what I mean? The sheriff can actually get up from his desk and do something other than look at a computer and go to the kid's house. And I said, yeah, I confirmed it was heroin paraphernalia. Kid comes home. I coached him for about 8 years. He's a college graduate. He's a full-blown heroin addict. And I confront him. We talk. He tells me about his path to addiction, the same path that every other kid's told me. But you know what he told me to change the way I look at this? He said, Coach Joe, and this kid is now 27 years old. He said, Coach Joe, you know what? If somebody had told me, and he started with pills, crushing up Percocet in college in a really good school, and snorting them. He said, Coach Joe, if somebody would have told me that I was snorting synthetic heroin, those pills, I would have never done it. And think about that. No, I know there's doctors in here who say, well, actually, pills aren't synthetic heroin. But think about that. It's the same thing. It does the same thing to our brain, right? Opiate, heroin, pills, right? And think about that. If we had educated them, and then I went back and asked my 4 kids who were 28 through 22, did anybody ever tell you this besides me in school or any professional, anywhere? No. And this kid became addicted. And for him, he wouldn't have done it. He said, Coach Joe, I would have never done this if somebody had just told me that this is synthetic heroin, that this is the same as heroin. But we never did that. And we haven't done that as our disciplines. We haven't sat down and said, this is heroin. It's the same stuff. It does the same stuff to our brain. So I think we have to think about that and change our messaging and how we deliver that message to young people, because I think there's a whole lot of kids that are getting addicted who just think that brown bottle, since it came from a doctor, it's okay even to abuse it. And if we put the big ugly H on it, we can lessen the amount of people that get addicted in the future. Questions?
Thank you, Sheriff. We have time for 1 or 2 questions if there are any interest or questions from the group. No hands. We're getting later in the
Thank you,
afternoon.
guys.
So thank you, Sheriff. I know a number of jurisdictions are either expanding Project Purple or trying to replicate your success there, and we'd love to, as a state, do everything we can to make sure that that message gets out as far as possible. So thank you.